First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Aric Almirola. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood, a family-made media podcast, and we are headed back to the racetrack today. NASCAR driver Aric Almirola joins me on the podcast. Aric has been driving in the NASCAR Cup Series since 2007. He was going to call it a career and retire, but he reversed course on that decision and decided to stick with his racing career. We're going to find out why he decided to do that and so much more. And don't forget, First Class Fatherhood is a part of the Family Made Media Network, and Family Made has got a brand new newsletter that goes out every Monday and Friday. You're going to hear relevant stories about fatherhood and family life, stories from Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson and her husband Andrew East. Check out the link down below, news.familymade.com. Enter in your email and you'll never miss out on one of their newsletters. While you're down there, smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Aric Almirola on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Aric Almirola. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
All right, let's start right here. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
I got two kids. Alex is just turned 10, and Abby is 8, going to be 9 in a couple months.
Wow, very cool. If you could, please, just take a second to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, so I drive a NASCAR Cup Series car. So I've been driving race cars since I was 8 years old. I started go-kart racing and progressed my way up through the ranks and made it all the way to the top level of stock car auto racing, which is the NASCAR Cup Series. And I've been doing that. This is my 11th full-time season as a NASCAR Cup Series driver.
Yeah, very, very cool. Obviously, you've had a successful career in NASCAR. If you could then take me back to the beginning of your fatherhood journey, though. About how old were you when you first became a dad, and how did that experience shift your perspective on life?
I was 29 years old. My wife and I were had been married a couple of years, and I had just went to my sort of orientation day for my first year driving as a NASCAR Cup Series driver. So it was my first opportunity to make it to the big leagues and be a NASCAR Cup Series driver. I was driving for Richard Petty that year, my first year in the Cup Series. And I went to the shop in the facility and took a tour of the facility. And when I came back home, I was all excited to tell my wife like how it went and everything. And she said, "Oh yeah, okay, that's great. By the way, I have some pretty exciting news for you." And I was like, "What? Like, what could it be? You know, what more could be exciting than what I just went and did? I just went and saw the new facility of the place where I'm going to, finally make it to the big leagues of stock car auto racing." And she said, "Well, here you go." And she handed me the pregnancy test, and she was pregnant with our son, Alex. And that changed everything for us, right? The next 9 months, we were preparing to welcome our son into the world and had no idea what to expect. Felt like we were not prepared, but didn't feel like we'd ever be prepared, really. And yeah, it was exciting. It was nerve-wracking. Just going from just worrying about myself and, having to provide an income for me and my wife to now feeling like, oh man, like I've got this little boy now that depends on me as a father to not only provide financially, but to be there for him and to be a role model for him, somebody that he looks up to. So yeah, it was pretty scary to be honest, to find out that my wife was pregnant.
Yeah, really awesome stuff. And I know that this was supposed to be your last year in the NASCAR circuit. You were had been scheduled to retire, and you now signed a multi-year deal to stay in the game. What was that process like for you? What was the decision making behind that? What was your family's response when you decided to make the call?
Yeah, so I love to drive race cars. It's what I've done my whole life, and I feel so blessed and so fortunate to still be doing it at 38 years old and to be making a living at it. But I felt like with the situation that our family was in a year to 2 years ago, I just felt like my family was making a lot of sacrifice for me to still be chasing my dreams. And my wife and I had talked a lot about it. We prayed a lot about it. And I felt like going into this year that I needed to be done, that I needed to sacrifice my dreams and sacrifice me chasing my career and doing the things that I thought were fun. I needed to sacrifice those things so that I could be more present with my family, that I could be more available for my kids, be more engaged with my wife. And things just changed. And I personally feel like it was, in God's hands. And I felt like our circumstances started to change. The kids' school that we got them signed up in last August started doing Fridays as a satellite day. There's a hybrid day where they don't have to go to class and they go online and they turn in their work online. So for our family, that worked out fantastically because now our kids could travel with me on Thursday afternoon or Friday morning and not miss school and still get their schoolwork done. So that worked out to where my family, this year, we'll end up going to about 28 of the 38 races, which is crazy. Like when you think about the amount of time that we've gotten to spend together traveling on the road because of that change. And then the other thing that changed was my son's baseball league. He was, playing baseball and football, and in the past his baseball and football games were on Saturdays. And now the baseball league that we're in, we practice on Monday nights and we play games on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. So again, as dad, I don't have to miss any games and I'm not watching games on FaceTime. I'm actually there and I'm actually helping to coach his team this year, which is what I want to do. I want to be a part of their life. I want to be a part of their activities. And so seeing those things kind of line up for us throughout this year, and then the sponsor of my race car asked if I would be interested and willing to reconsider going forward, continuing to drive. And the race team asked me as well. Again, I talked with my wife about it and we both prayed a lot about it and just felt like the opportunity was there and that, we should make the most of the opportunity. I still love to race. And I didn't feel like, and my wife also didn't feel like our family was sacrificing near as much for me to drive a race car because of, our circumstances at home that had changed.
Yeah, very well said. And it makes a lot more sense hearing you talk about it now than from what I've been reading about and decision-making to come back. So awesome to hear that. And you talk about the sacrifices. Obviously, as dads, we make sacrifices for our families all the time. Your dad made a huge sacrifice. Your parents did coming here from Cuba. What is your relationship like with your dad? And what is his kind of take on just kind of like the negative atmosphere that's going on in this country right now? Could you speak to that?
I can't really speak a whole lot to that. I think I have a healthy relationship with my dad. Looked up to my dad when I was a kid growing up. My dad's a firefighter, retired firefighter in the Hillsborough County in Tampa, Florida. And if I wasn't a race car driver, I wanted to be a firefighter. And I think what my dad's parents did was incredibly courageous. My dad and his parents came over in 1966 from Cuba to Florida on the Freedom flights. And my dad was 4 years old. And my grandparents, they gave everything they owned back to the Cuban government in exchange for a plane ticket to come to America to try and create a better life for their family. And so I'm a, first generation born Cuban American, first generation of the Almirola family to be born in America. And here I am, a professional race car driver and, doing really well for myself. And that's all because of what my grandparents did, 50 years ago. So I just feel, actually 60 years ago. So I just feel really humbled, really blessed, and super thankful that, they had that vision and that courage to do that.
Yeah, wow. And then tapping into that, what would you consider to be the top values that you hope to instill in your kids growing up?
I think for me, it's really about integrity. Be a person of your word, both for my son and my daughter, to be honest, to be humble, and to, treat other people with respect, right? To just be a good person, be a kind person. In our household, it's super important to us, to be a God-fearing Christian, and to know that, you're loved, and to know that, you have not only this life to live, but you have eternity to live, and what you do here on this earth has an impact on eternity. And so that's really important for us to get that across to our kids.
Very cool. What about as far as discipline goes? What type of disciplinarian are you as a dad? And is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
No, I'm very, very similar to how I grew up. And my disciplinary style is to just take action immediately, right? We're not gonna wait. We're not one of those to where it's like, oh, well, wait till your father gets home, or wait till I tell your mom about this. It's like, no, we're gonna correct it right now. We're gonna sit down. And for us, our two kids are very different, right? Like, Alex, I can grab him and get down in his face and have a stern conversation with him and explain to him what he did wrong, or even get onto him pretty good, and he'll straighten up immediately. And Abby's very different. Like, you can't do that with her. She gets really emotional, and she gets really upset, and it's actually counterproductive. With Abby, you have to have more. I have to be more tenderhearted with her. Have to, she has to go to timeout, have 10, 15 minutes of her own time to kind of think about what she did, why it was wrong, and then you can go in and engage and have a conversation with her, and a more tenderhearted conversation, and she'll be remorseful and understand what she did wrong, and move forward from there. Where Alex is, more quick to just be like, just give me my punishment. I know I was wrong. All right, we're cool, Dad. Like, let's go.
Very cool. I know. Are they into? I know you said. I believe you said your son's playing the baseball right now. Are they into the racing scene? Do they enjoy watching your races? Are they interested in the go-kart scene just yet? How's that coming along?
They are interested, but neither of them have really shown a tremendous amount of interest of wanting to race themselves. They enjoy the sport. They enjoy being spectators of the sport. They enjoy being involved in it. But neither Alex nor Abby have really shown much interest in wanting to race. Abby is really big into theater and horseback riding, and she's really good at both. Especially theater. She's really come out of her shell in theater. She can get up on a stage in front of 500 people when she does these theater performances, and she can sing, and she can deliver her lines, and just she impresses me so much when she gets up on stage. Just her self-confidence and her ability to recite and remember all the stuff she has to remember is really, really incredible for an 8-year-old little girl. And then Alex is big into sports, which I love. I played sports growing up, so it's fun to be with him and to help coach his baseball team right now. We're having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, very cool. And I mean, I've recently had Kyle Petty on the podcast here, Joey Logano. I mean, I know that the NASCAR, I would only imagine it's got to be just like most of all these other sports, difficult to play and balance that with fatherhood. Well, and I usually ask like the NFL guys and the MLB guys what kind of how the league kind of treats the families that are there and stuff. How is NASCAR? Is it family friendly? I know it's obviously very high competition, but between the drivers when they have families, how does NASCAR kind of handle when families do come to the track, on site, stuff like that? How is NASCAR in handling all that?
I think they do a good job. I think it could always be better. The best thing, in my opinion, for a sport like ours, the best thing you can do is have it to where the driver is excited and happy to be there, and ready to go do his job and ready to perform. And so for us, making it to where it is more accommodating and more enjoyable for our wives and our kids to be there is something that we as drivers we long for. We want that. We want our families to come to the racetrack and enjoy the experience. Racing is without a doubt a family sport. And you look in the grandstands, you look in the infield area with everybody camping out, and everybody's there with their family. And that's how I grew up as well, going to the races with my family. But it is very hard on a family as a member of the industry, whether you're a race car driver, or even harder for the crew guys. Those are the guys that really have it tough because they're not as able to bring their wives or bring their kids to the races like the drivers are. So I feel for those guys. Those guys make a tremendous amount of sacrifice to do their job. But yeah, it is fun to be able to bring my wife and bring my kids. I know a lot of other athletes don't have that luxury. Their wives and kids aren't allowed to fly on the team planes. Mine are, and my wife and kids are allowed to come to the event, be down kind of inside the arena. So that makes it nice.
Wow, very cool. And so obviously you're sticking around for a couple of years here more. What kind of plans do you have? Like, were you thinking as you were looking at retirement, did you have plans already? Are you looking to stick around the sport? What do you see for the future? What does the future hold for you beyond racing?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I keep striking out, to be honest. I don't really have a firm plan on what's next. I'm a firm believer in that God will open up whatever doors need to be opened at the right time, and close whatever doors need to be closed at the right time. And for right now, the door to racing continues to be open. So, I'm jumping in with both feet and continuing to do that. And I have no idea what the future holds. I do know that for all of us, tomorrow's not promised. And so I don't try to, put too much emphasis and stress out or worry too much about 5 years down the road or 2 years down the road, because I just you can't predict what's going to happen. Like, if I would have told you 5 years ago what I would be doing in 5 years, it would not be where I'm at today. I could promise you that. I just would have never predicted that. The opportunities would have led to where I'm at today. So I can't give you a great answer on that.
Yeah, good stuff. And the last thing I want to hit you with here, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Oh man, just what I've seen with my own two kids is just that they crave unconditional love. And I feel like for me, when I was a kid, like that's all anybody really wants, is to know that they're important to dad, and just quality time is so important. Quantity is great, but quality time is so important. And just making sure that your kids know you love them, and you love them no matter what.
Yeah, well said, Aric. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me.
You have been listening to First Class Fatherhood. First Class Fatherhood is a family-made media podcast. Please visit www.firstclassfatherhood.com or www.familymade.com to find out more details. You can order First Class Fatherhood advice and wisdom from high-profile dads on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it. God bless, and I'll catch you next time.